Finally, after waiting and investigations that lasted 27 years, the American police arrested the person involved in Tupac's murder. The murder of Tupac Shakur was one of the biggest mysteries that remained unsolved for more than 27 years. But finally the solution came, and the reason was confessions from the person involved in the crime himself. So stay with me until the end until you know who killed Tupac and why Tupac's mother was the one who gave the hospital the decision to end his life. Tupac Shakur is an American rapper, born in 1971, and is considered one of the most influential rappers to this day, even after he was 27 years old. He started his rap career in 1987, meaning when he was only 16 years old, and the first song he appeared on was called Same Song. This song was his launch into the world of hip-hop, and after that he decided to make hip-hop his main profession in life. He continued to produce songs and albums with Interscope until he ran into legal problems and was accused of sexually assaulting a girl in 1994. Although Tupac rejected the accusations and let the case continue until the end because he insisted on his innocence, in the end he was convicted and sentenced to prison for a period that would have reached 5 years. Suddenly a person named Suge Knight appeared and decided that he would release Tupac from prison on bail. He actually paid $1.4 million, and Tupac was released from prison. The question that comes to everyone's mind now is, who is Suge Knight? Why did Tupac get out of prison? Suge Knight is the executive director of Death Row, an artistic production company, which is the same company that produced rappers who were the kings of the 90s, such as Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. But why did Tupac get out of prison? It is certainly to gain his loyalty on the one hand, and to join his production company on the other hand and make millions from him, and indeed this is what happened, and Tupac's best-selling album is All Eyes on Me, which he produced with Death Row in 1996. You must know that the 90s in America was a period of gang control over everything in the country. Literally everything. Even the production company Death Row needed to be part of a specific gang in order to protect itself. Because they never had a compromise solution. Either you are in a gang and protect yourself, or you are not in a gang and are neglectful. The gang that was protecting Suge Knight was a gang called the Bloods, and Suge Knight was known for his association with gangs to protect his investments and control over the world of hip-hop music, and it became known about the Death Row group that he saw gangstas behind them. It is the battle, or the beef, as the Americans call it. It is one of the biggest musical disputes that ever happened, and literally every action you can imagine has become involved in it. The songs are the easiest thing in it, and things have reached the point of theft, murder, and assassinations. How did this battle start? In the beginning, it was a normal competition. New York rappers would talk about their better condition, Los Angeles rappers would make fun of the New York group, and so on. But when Tupac was in prison before Suge Knight released him on bail, there was a song that came out on the radio called Who Shot Ya? It was a song that Notorious B.I.G. had downloaded, and Tupac thought of it. He put a track on it, and he played a lot on Biggie, which represented the East Coast or the American East Coast, and decided that he takes revenge. Especially since Tupac started linking events that happened to him together, such as the incident of stealing his necklace, which was followed by an attempt to assassinate him with 5 bullets, and Tupac began accusing East Coast of the first assassination attempt on him. By the way, Tupac was subjected to 2 failed assassination attempts before he was actually assassinated the 3rd time, which we will talk about a little later. The song, Who Shot Ya?, took the difference between the East Coast and the West Coast to a new level, and Tupac's publication of the D-track is still considered to this day one of the strongest songs in history, which is Hit 'Em Up, which wiped the earth with Biggie and Puffy's mustaches, and everything says, I am East Coast, even people who have nothing to do with it. Taradish followed them. We have now arrived on September 6, 1996, and things are heating up between the East Coast and the West Coast, and there are many pending and unresolved matters between them, and what has become is as follows. Attending a Mike Tyson match, Tupac was known to be a fan of Mike Tyson, and that they were even friends. On this day, Tupac was attending a boxing match between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, and people from all over the world were attending this match. All over America, and yes, there are some of them who are enemies of Tupac. The fight after the match. After the match with Mike Tyson ended, Tupac and Suge Knight left the match, and at the same time, Orlando Anderson, who is one of the East Coast gang members, appeared, and of course we don't know Tupac and his group are from the West Coast. When Orlando saw Tupac, he gathered a group of unidentified people and attacked Tupac and his group in the lobby of the hotel they were in. There was a huge disagreement and chaos between them, and a scene that felt like it came out of the game GTA San Andreas assassination in the car. After this battle that happened, Orlando told his gang members about the problem that had happened, and of course the gangs had no mercy at all, as they were planning to take revenge on Tupac. The important thing is that Tupac and Shock Knight left in a BMW, and they were standing at a red signal on the Flamingo Road and Koval Lane highways, and while they were standing at the signal, a white Cadillac came and stopped next to their car, and he opened fire on Tupac from it. They shot him with 4 bullets, 1 in his chest, 1 in his hand, and 1 in his pelvis. Even Shock Knight, who was sitting next to Tupac while driving the car, was hit by shrapnel in his head, but his injury was not serious. Until now, he is present and living in prison. If you would like us to make a video about the story of Shock Knight, let me know in the comments. Tupac was taken to the hospital and died. After the shooting, Tupac was taken to the hospital and underwent complex surgery in an attempt to save his life. He remained in critical condition for several days until he died. In Talat's story, there was a possibility that Tupac would survive, but his mother was the one who refused to do so, and the reason was that he was going to survive with only 1 lung, his voice would disappear forever, and he might lose more than 1 of his fingers. Since the mother knows her son's self-esteem and pride, and the difficulty of life that would be if he continued without a voice, especially since he is a musician, she asked the doctors to let him go until he rested. The story is not officially confirmed, but Napoleon, who was Tupac's partner in the Outlaws band, spoke about the validity of this idea in a previous interview he did with DJ Vlad. The Tupac assassination investigation is one of the most complex assassination investigations conducted to date. Even after the arrest of Keith D as the main accused in the assassination, the case is still open, and no conclusive results have been presented so far, and there are no more than the novels and stories that have emerged from this investigation. Netflix even produced an entire series about the murders of Tupac and Biggie. The Tupac case was one of the most controversial cases in the world, and there were many theories about who killed Tupac or who had an interest in killing him. People like Biggie and Puff Daddy were accused of being the killer or responsible for the killing because of the dispute between him and Tupac. Or even that Knight himself wanted the person to pay $1,400,000 to see Tupac out of prison, join his company, and start producing songs for him. He was also accused of being responsible for the crime, but all of these stories that came out had no basis, or the evidence was so weak that no one was officially arrested during this period. When the police took the theories and investigated them, they did not lead to any solution, so they kept the matter quiet. Indeed, the investigation into the case was shelved more than once, and even the investigators responsible for the case changed more than once. Despite all efforts, the issue remains mysterious and has no solution. Until we reach the year 2018. In the year 2018, the accused, Keith D, wrote a book called Compton Street Legend. Inside the book, he described the incident that happened on the day Tupac was killed, and what happened inside the Cadillac from which the shooting was made. Literally, Keith said that he was in the car in the front seat and there was a person driving the car named T. Brown, and 2 people in the back seat were Orlando Anderson and the other was named Dre. Their car was so close to Tupac's car that Keith looked directly at Nate, who was driving Tupac's car, meaning his eyes were on him. Then he had a bag with a gun in it. He opened it and threw it at Laura on the back seat, and one of the people behind him pulled out the gun and started shooting Tupac. Okay. Now you will say that it is very nice, this is a clear and frank confession of the crime, and as soon as we arrest the people who were in the car, the case will be solved, right? True. Unfortunately, it is not true because all the people who were in the car at the time of the accident died, and the only person still alive until now is Keith D, who wrote the book. How did he not limit himself to just the book, but continued to appear in interviews and podcasts and used to talk about the same topic in a very normal way? You should know that this Keith used to take a lawyer with him to the interviews he went to so that he could control any word he said. So we can say that this Keith knew that he might get involved in his situation, so he was careful. Or he was thinking that he was careful. Keith D, he is the mastermind behind the crime, and he planned the operation to frighten his nephew, Orlando Anderson, after he did the same thing he did with Tupac after the Mike Tyson match. Orlando Anderson, according to Kevity himself, Orlando Anderson, who died on May 29, 1998, is the one who shot Tupac. T. Brown, he is the driver of the white Cadillac in which the criminals were, and he is part of the gang, and therefore part of the crime. DeAndre Smith, we don't know why he was in the car, or if they were planning to do something, he was with them in the car, just like that. 27 years after the crime, Tupac is dead today, although many people say that he may be living on a distant island. The criminals who were in the car were all dead except for Kevity, who is today in the hands of American justice, and his confessions may reveal new information about the case. Subscribe to the channel to receive any updates regarding his confessions. Shock Knight, once the tycoon of gangs and the music industry, is today serving a 28-year prison sentence after being convicted of the murder of a businessman from Compton. Tupac's mother died in 2016, and those remaining in his family are his biological father, and a brother and sister from his mother. In your opinion, will the case of Tupac's murder finally be closed, or can new details be revealed? Tell me what you think by commenting. This video took a lot of effort to be produced so quickly, so don't be stingy in supporting us by liking and sharing.